Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Minutes with Milo, or welcome for the first time. I guess if you're here the first time, you're not back. You're just here, which is great. I appreciate it. So, channel, show topic tonight is going to be my Survivor recap. Turn that off. Things happening behind the scenes that you don't know about. So, if you've never been to the channel before, or if you have been to the channel and you're not already subscribed, please do that. If you haven't ever left a comment, let's try to get somebody new to leave a comment. So I've had several comments, not a bunch, but several. And I'd like to get some new people to leave a comment. And I'd like to have people that come on as guests. So if you're watching this after it's live, or if it is live, let's get you on as a guest. We can talk about just about anything. So we don't have to talk about Survivor. We can talk about, well, I'm thinking Monday night it's going to be magnet fishing. So Landon, who's been on here several times, has picked up this little hobby. And I've heard about it. Never done it. So we'll talk about it Monday. Maybe he'll come on and share his experiences and see what that's about. He's the one that did the hammock camping, plays the music, does different things like that. So if you're tuning in now, you're watching it later, check out those videos, see who he is, see how handsome he is. You may want to come on back and see two handsome fellas on the same show. Maybe. You never know. So, Survivor recap. Last night on Survivor. And last night, I had to put my specs on, so my reading eyeballs. Put my reading eyeballs on. So last night would have been, May the 10th, 2023, Survivor Season 44. And if you watched the last episode, my last show on Thursday night, a week ago, then you know that Jam Jam and Carson kind of voted without telling Caroline about what they were doing. And I said then, probably going to backfire. Meaning she would be mad. And yes, of course, she was. But she got over it. This is, always at the beginning of the show, they, show just like nothing ever happened. There wasn't any break. So, just like they came back from tribal council, she basically said, hey, you know what, I'm mad. Leave me alone. Let me have my space. And then the next day, apparently, she was okay with it. And, depending on how you believe the edits, she seemed to be all right with it. But will that continue? I don't know. We'll see. So, let me get up my... where's my mouse? Get over here. Quit lollygagging over there on that screen. Get up my pictures here. I'm visual. I can't remember names. I have a hard time with that. And so this helps me refresh my memory. So there's Carolyn, Carson, and Jam Jam. Okay. So just as kind of a backstory, if you haven't been paying attention, you don't watch Survivor, maybe you're tuning in thinking, I don't have anything better to be doing, so I'm going to watch this guy, or I'm going to watch this dude's video and see what this Survivor thing's all about. So, as kind of a recap, Tika Tribe, the last three members, Carolyn, Carson, and Jam Jam, have been in the middle of the other two tribes, Soka and Ratu. Alright, so last show, they voted out Franny. And the reason Carolyn was mad is because she was a friend, or, was getting to know her, liked her, you know how it goes. You're on the island with these people, you can't help but like some of them. Clell says he doesn't have anything better to be doing. I bet you do. Bet you ask that wifey poo of yours, hey babe, what can I do for you this evening? She could probably have a list just long enough to take you into 11 o'clock when it's time to go to bed. So, why don't you try that one night? Not Thursdays, not Mondays. We need you here. I know Robert doesn't have anything to be doing. He's popping a top on his third, fourth, fifth, sixth one by now. Maybe just his second one. So, yeah. Well, not Thursdays or Monday nights, Wednesdays. No, Wednesday's a Survivor. Boy, we're getting down to it. Not Saturday nights. This Saturday night's another street fights. I don't know if I'll get to go tonight, this one or not, but we'll see. So pick a night, not an important night. Maybe Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday's an important night. And just say, hey, what can I do for you tonight? Can I rub them feet? Can we wash them dishes? Me either. So boring my life is. You kind of sound like, now see, I can't even think of it. Help you, I will. Yes. Shoot. You know the dude. The little guy. Yoda. That's it. Yoda. He always talked backwards. Survivor. Stop bothering me. I'm trying to think. I'm going to go, well, plan to. Going to go, well, plan to go where? Well, I'm owed some. I can't do everything at once. Here's what I'm trying to live by nowadays. Do a little bit of something on the project or a chore or I need to get done thing a little bit at a time, every night, every day. So I've got my yard broken out into sections. The riding sections, the pushing sections, all that kind of stuff. So I did a couple of riding sections tonight because I need to get done. Okay, so you're planning on going to street fights. Okay, I see what you're saying now. So that's the way it works. I try to get a little bit done on different things. So, anyway, Survivor. Where was I? If you haven't been watching it, the Ratu tribe, was that what I said? Get back up here. Tika. The Tika tribe has positioned themselves really well. It's played out really well for them. So, and the reason I say that is because the Soka tribe and the Ratu tribe have been kind of wanting to get each other off, and that puts the Tika tribe in the middle. And they've been playing it pretty good. And without going into the end of the show last night, it's looking up for them. And in the middle is usually on Survivor is a good place to be. And the reason is if you're a solo player, or if you're a tribe, or if you're, a power couple, whatever it might be, if you can play both ends, okay, not against the middle because you're in the middle. If you can play both ends and keep that teeter-totter balanced, then you're going to come out okay, usually. But inevitably, and I know it, Tika has, like a lot of times other people, whether other players, Tony, Boston Rob, some of those guys that were really flamboyant and they never got voted off. I can't figure that out. But it's the way that the cards, fall for them, for everybody else. So, being in the middle can be really good because you can, make some big moves. And if people come to you and say, hey, I want to vote off blah, blah, you can kind of go along with that. But if that's not in your plan, somebody else is going to go on by and say, let's vote off Yoo-hoo. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's better. I want to do that. And that's the way you go. So you're in the middle kind of as a power broker. Who wants to go the way I want to go, and that's the way I'll go this time and next time and so forth. And, I said a couple of 3 shows ago, when they had an opportunity to vote out one of the Tika tribe members, they should have. They should have gotten rid of Jam Jam, or they should have gotten rid of Carolyn long ago, the other 2 tribes, but it would have taken them working together to vote off one of them. And they just couldn't get over, the fact that they were, feuding. And I won't say they're feuding. It's just they're concentrated on each other and they're forgetting about the Tika tribe who has been, just going around and doing what they wanted to happen and making it happen in these votes. So last night was I don't think they had a reward challenge. I was in and out last night, so, I might not be spot on some of these. But I know their reward challenge, I'm sorry, the immunity challenge. I was trying to think, was there a reward challenge last night? I don't think there was. It's getting down to it, and there's very few people left. So there's probably only going to be a couple of, maybe 3 more episodes, I would guess, left. Because let's see, there's 3, 5. There's 6 players left now. Yep, 6 players left. Because last night they voted off one. There were 7. So Clell says no. I didn't think there was. Clell, I think to be successful on Survivor, you have to be a likable villain. I don't even know if you really have to be a villain. Because Jam Jam has just been lucky or unthreatening, or maybe he's good for comic relief and they want to keep him around. I don't know. But, I mean, I don't know, maybe in some points he has been a villain, but I don't think. Now, Carson, he's been kind of a wormy get around, and, at least where they edit it, show him talking about, how he thinks he's making some moves and causing some changes and all that stuff. So, but the immunity challenge was one that I'm really surprised they duplicated so early. Right. I think everybody at the end, I don't know, during the game, you're hungry, you're tired, you're stressed to the max, you know. And so I'm sure, everybody's doing these interviews with the producers going, man, I hate that guy. We need to get rid of him. And they never do. And they never do. And then after they've eaten and had, 6 weeks, of course, they're doing all the live shows different, now. But when they all get together, everybody's, over it. It seems like. I think it'd be really hard to get over some of this stuff, especially when they edit it. But yeah, I can see where you're saying that's a likable villain. Boston Rob, Tony, and that one girl, Cops R Us, that kind of stuff. But last night's immunity challenge, maybe not season 43, but within 42 or 43, the last 2 seasons, the challenge they ran last night, where they lock them in a cage and then make the tide come up, there was 2 people that went through high tide back to low tide in that challenge. So I'm really surprised they brought it back so quickly. And I don't know, maybe they learned their lesson and made it not so close just to the edge of high tide, but it was like, well, we got to make, if this is high tide, we got to make the cage here. So high tide is actually 3 or 4 inches above the cage, because they did that one and high tide came and went, and there were still 2 players, which had never ever happened. And so maybe they made the adjustments this time, and they figured, hey, this is better. Nobody's going to be able to take it, because there's no chance that they'll be able to last that long. But it would be hard. That challenge would be hard. I don't like to have water in my ears. That really bothers me. But once it happens, I mean, you got to figure they're in that cage, so they're up against it, and then your ears get into it no matter what. So you're into it with your ears. Then the next thing is rolling into your nose. If it rolls up into your nose, into your sinuses, you've got to get it out. And so, it would be easy, real easy, to get very claustrophobic in that, because you're in a cage. You've got to have your face pressed up against the bars, and then the waves are just, they're not crashing on you. They're just tickling your nose and your ears and your forehead, and then, you know what I mean? Then when it becomes high tide, they're all up in your face, your nose, your mouth, everything. It makes it hard to breathe. So that was tough. And that's why they do it. I'd love to see them, we talked about this before, love to see them bring back some of these eating challenges. And it didn't seem to be, a big deal. And some of the other ones where they ate different things, people would get sick and throw up. But nobody that we know of suffered any long-term physical effects from eating, I don't know, mice or pig intestine or whatever they were picking on that day. Warm blood and curdled milk, or whatever it might have been. So I don't think anybody ever got terminally sick from any of that. I'm sure it's very unpleasant. Some of those things they pick, and I don't know how they come up with them, were just ugh. I don't know. But I'd like to see some of that. And I don't know why they got rid of them, but that weeded out people quick, you know. And so this one, I think they brought back just because somebody did kick its butt. Two people kicked its butt a couple of seasons ago, and I think they wanted to bring it back to, redeem it. I don't know. But Jam Jam won. And kudos to him. He beat out a lot of people. And I was really, if you watch it, I was really kind of worried there at the end because Jeff would say, hey, you won, and he wasn't moving. I mean, his arms wasn't moving or anything like that. And, he was all locked up into that cage. And, Danny had to jump in there and say, hey, you won, what are you doing still in the ocean? The barter food challenges to pay $500 for a jar of peanut butter and such. Yeah, those were good. When they would give them, the money to hold out. And I guess probably part of the premise of that was if you spend all your money on food, Jeff always had, the bonus advantage or whatever. And so if you gave up your money too quick, you wouldn't have money to, buy the secret advantage or buy the envelope or those kind of things. And I think, didn't they at some point throw in letters from home on those things? Like it's a surprise? Maybe not. I can't remember. But yeah, they'd give them those. And they'd buy hamburgers or covered things, give me $500 for what's underneath the platter, and there'd be a cheeseburger, or there might be, a jar of peanut butter, or, excuse me, maybe a letter from home. Who knows? But anyway, yep, those were fun. I like the ones too where they used to have, and it's always real telling because they'll have, let's say, ones I remember, like clay plates that has somebody's name on them. And you step up with a slingshot or a bow and arrow or a rock or a baseball or a beanbag or whatever it might be. And you start breaking plates, and that starts eliminating people. And it was always kind of funny that, people would be, in an alliance, and then when it come time to do immunity or a reward, who they thought was their alliance sometimes would always be trying to break their, their tile or plate or whatever Jeff was calling it at the time. I always thought that was funny. Because then, that always made enemies. Why'd you try to do that to me? I wasn't trying to do that to you. And that kind of stuff. But since Jam Jam won it, okay, it put Tika in a pretty good spot. Because now, at least one of the members of Tika can't be voted out. All right? So, here's where it comes to get complicated. So, now is the time that Tika had to make its move because they needed to keep all of their members and vote out somebody from one of the other tribes. Then they would have the numbers, meaning, they would have 3 as opposed to 2 and 2 on the other tribes, or 1 and 2 on the other tribes. So Carolyn started working it, and I didn't get to see this part, but my wife was telling me she had like a idea or a premonition, something that Carson would be the one that people would target because everybody other than even Tika realizes people need to get one of the Tika members out because they're going to have the numbers, right? And so somehow she came up that they were going to vote Carson. And so she started lobbying, everybody. I won't say everybody, but she was trying to convince Jam Jam that, it was going to be Carson. They needed to prepare for that. They needed to start, planning on what their vote was going to be. And could she trust him? And see, this is what comes back to the other vote. Could he be trusted? She made him pinky swear or whatever it was that he would vote a certain way. And so they targeted Danny, which was the firefighter, on Soka. And so Danny and Heidi are the only ones left on the Soka tribe. I think. Is that right? Claire. Let's see. Yeah. She's on this tribe. This girl's left. These two are left. And these two are left. And so they targeted Danny. And one thing that I have to say Carolyn did way back when, she kind of messed it up. But it's worked out for her. I thought she'd messed it up, but it never came back to bite her. So it worked out okay. But she got the advantage out of the birdcage way back when, and has kept it a secret for the whole show so far. And even in this episode, Jam Jam point blank asked her, "Do you have the Tika idol, the one that was in the birdcage?" And she said no, which is just a bold out and out lie because she had it. So it comes up in her mind that she is going to tell Carson about it. Now I think that was a mistake. Okay, I think she should have just kept it to herself and basically said, "Hey, if I feel antsy about it or whatever, I think we're going to make this happen. I think it's going to work out and it's going to be fine," without telling him that she had the idol. But she tells him, which could have backfired, because he could go on and tell somebody else. But he was going to play it. She was going to play it for him. So why tell it? And so she was the last one to vote in tribal council. And they all, did their thing and they started voting. And I don't know how long she was at the voting station, but it kept flashing between two different cameras and she was doing something to her fingers. And I think she was grouping them together and running scenarios, counting people up, counting what the possibilities were of this, that, or another thing. So anyway, she apparently had someone else's name written down. Let's see, who did she have? I don't think she had Heidi's name written down. I think she had Jamie's name written down on her vote. And she had marked it out and then put Danny. And I don't know why that was, but that's what she did. And when it came to it, she actually did. I didn't think she would, and maybe it was just the way they edited it, but she waited to the very last possible second and played her idol for Carson. And so you could see on the look on the faces of some of the other players that, oh, we hadn't expected that. They had no idea. Nobody had an idea until she told Carson that she had the idol. And so it went Carson, and then, of course, none of those voted or counted. And there was a Heidi or something anyway, and then the rest of them were for Danny. He got voted out, which there was a comment made about him. You know, he's pretty physically fit, but he hasn't won an extraordinary amount of, you know, immunities or reward challenges. So even though, you know, he may be physical, he's not a, you know, a winner in those things a lot of times. And he's not good at puzzles and those kind of things. So, you know, he's not so much a threat in challenges. But for some reason, Carolyn thought that, you know, he would be a good choice. And in my book, I think he was a good choice. Anybody but those three, to them, is a good choice. But you got to think down the road. So now they've weakened, you know, the tribe. But here's where it comes down to now. I think there's 6 players left. So if they don't stick together, and this is what always starts to creep into everybody's mind, everybody starts to get worried about, did I make enough moves? Who made better moves than me? Who's going to play to the jury better? Who would the jury like? Who did they not ever piss off? All this other kind of stuff. So I hate to say it. My kind of prediction is the Tika 3 is going to fall apart. And I bet you it falls apart on the next show. Because right now it is, you know, it's still, the numbers are close, but it wouldn't take but one person to swap to blindside, you know, Carolyn or Jam Jam or something like that. So they've got to vote strong. And so it might start breaking down for them this next show. Because they've got to start realizing sooner or later you got to eat your young. So I don't know. Maybe they'll make it through to the final 3. Maybe they will. That would be crazy because I'm not an expert, but I don't remember a lot of times that somebody, some bond, some tribe stuck together through, well, I'm sure there has, because Boston Rob and his wife were a power couple, but I think she ended up getting voted off, but have gone through and make it to the end. You know, if this happens, it may be the first time that you know, because they're off the same tribe. They didn't form alliances after the merge. You know, this is a group that have been together since day one. And so, I don't know. Maybe that would be a first. That, you know, that 3 members went all the way to the end, became the final 3, like they said they would, or hoped they would, or whatever. So, I don't know. Maybe. I just think they're going to, you know, turn on each other. They realize maybe Carson was engineered or orchestrated better moves. They need to get rid of him. Or, you know, Jam Jam is such a likable guy. He's like a panda bear, you know, or a koala bear. Everybody just loves him. You know, he's all warm and squishy. So maybe they want to get rid of him and see he's a threat because of the jury. I don't know. I just think that they're going to have to chop each other down. I think it's going to be the next show. They're going to take somebody out, and that it's just all going to fall apart. So, I don't know. It was interesting, and the good thing like I said, the interesting part is when you start thinking about, hey, these three people have stuck together, and it has been kind of uneventful except for the last show where they blindsided Carolyn, but they stuck together this time, which was very important because now there are three against the other, three people, even though they're not the same tribe. So, well, it's going to be tough. But I think they'll break apart. I think they'll fall apart. One of them will get scared. I don't know. Carolyn's been fairly lucky, but when she was counting on her fingers and she said she hadn't slept, that she's up every hour, running different scenarios through her head. I bet she starts seeing demons on the wall and all this other stuff and gets rid of some of her tribe mates because in her mind they've done something. Who knows? I just think maybe she's going to be the loose cannon that tries to get them out really quick. Where if they all three just stayed their ground and voted together, I think they could go to the end. I think it'd be a survivor first, but who knows? Maybe not. So anyway, I think that's going to. Robert, she may be very expressive, but she's very smart. I think Robert's got a little crush on her there. Clell says he agrees. Robert thinks she's very good at reading people. I don't know. I don't know if she's all that or none of that. It's just really hard to figure out. I don't know. When she told Jeff last night that, yes, I'm upset with you, and he looked at her like, what the heck? Who are you to be mad at me? I'm just stating something obvious. Yeah. I thought she was going to do something crazy. I think she was just like that far from really doing something crazy at the vote because she had written somebody else's name, marked through it, and put down Danny's name. So anyway, that's she's a strange character. So I think that's going to be it for the Survivor recap. Like I said, next show will be, I think, interesting. I think they're just going to eat each other. I think they're just going to fall apart. Maybe not. Maybe they'll stick together. I don't know. So, if you stayed with me, listen to me, wake up. Hello. Time to turn your computer off. Go do something else. Maybe take a shower and go to bed. But I appreciate you if you stayed and watched this long. Clell, if you're going to go, holler at me. Like I said, maybe I can go. Maybe Robert could go watch some drag racing, which is more street cars than drag cars. I'll tell you that right up front. There's a lot of, right off the street. That's what they call it, street fights. But there were some really fast cars when we saw them last weekend. If you're just tuning in, you watched it, you made it this far, thanks a lot. You're doing very well. So if you're a subscriber, thank you. Get somebody else to subscribe. Let's make this a big pyramid scheme so that, you tell 5 people, they tell 5 people. Next thing you know, I've got 84 subscribers. Yeah, that's right. Like, subscribe, comment. Leave me a comment. Give me something. Let me practice my reading skills. Give me something to read. Please, preferably in English, because I can just cheat and have Google translate it. I don't even have to read it. So if you write it in, Yugoslavian or Swedish or Espanol or whatever, I don't have to read it. I just get Google to translate it for me. Well, if I could get my Datsun running where the back brakes weren't dragging all the time, turning my uh, you know rear wheels into like smoking zombies, I would. I'd take it down there and just, if they weren't afraid that stuff would drop off of it onto the track, I'd take it down there and I bet it'd probably be a 20-second truck. I guarantee you that thing probably wouldn't run the quarter mile any faster than 20 seconds at 55 miles an hour or something. That'd be pretty wild, but I'd like to go see what it would do. So anyway, thanks again. Like, subscribe, comment, do all those YouTubey things. And until next time, like I said, I think Monday night, I said this and you guys weren't here, Landon has taken up magnet fishing. Call it that. You don't fish for magnets. You'll just have to tune in Monday and see, because I think he's going to get on Monday. I'm going to try to get him on and tell what he's doing. I think he's got some pictures, maybe. I don't know. And we'll talk about that. It's interesting. I've seen people doing it. I've never done it. Closest thing I've ever done too is I used to grab fish or grab hook carp out of the river. That's the closest thing I ever did to magnet fishing. Now I did do something that was really kind of weird. In elementary school, they had steam radiators in the classroom, and they were always covered by steel boxes, and they weren't like what you'd see nowadays. These were some other kind of it was operated on the same principle, but they weren't those stacked together horseshoe kind of radiators like you see a lot of other places. There was a different kind of radiator, and they had the box built over them, and I actually think they would blow air through them. But anyway, they were old. Elementary school was old. And students, over the years, at the top they had these little 1.5 to 2-inch wide louvers. And there was, rows of them, So the top of them, it was kind of slanted. So the louvers would blow, let the hot air come out towards the classroom. And people would break them out, mess with them, and then they would drop stuff down in there. And when you're in elementary school, you'd get breaks, or teachers, if you got your work done, they'd let you do other things. Well, me and a bunch of other guys, two maybe, a bunch, we would started bringing string and tying a big loop and a slip knot, and we would lower it down into the radiator and fish for and try to hook pencils so you could get or pins or whatever happened to be down in there, and you get the string, and you're trying to pull it, and then once it got under the pencil, you could kind of, jerk it so the knot would slip down, and then you would try to pull the pencil up with this slip knot. Hey, it was fun. What can you say? It was a challenge, and then when you got it up, you got pencil, So, Monday, I think he's going to talk about magnet fishing. And so, tune in, find out about that. If you've ever done it, call in, send me an email, tell me it's stupid or great, or I found, a 22 rifle, or, I found keys to a Maserati, something. Don't make up lies. Tell me the truth. Tell me what you found. All right. Good night, everybody. Say bye-bye. Good night, John Boy.